Okay, well, yes, I had finally got a progression loss. It's pretty tough to get one of those puppies, which is why tracking all the numbers is going to be so helpful because I'll be able to switch out to numbers that I can just start betting right away. I don't have to guess like what's the status of this. Let's get a baseline loss first. I mean that takes time and effort and it slows down the profit, taking. Yeah, I'm basically scalping. Have to scalp for profits. So we just had this PLE. Everything is looking good. We're just basically at normal for the hit to spin ratio. The profit loss event ratio is great. We had a hit at 73. I mean, a loss at 73. And so, normally it's 101. So that gives us 28 coups on top of the 101. So that's even better. So this is a great. So I'm at level 3. Our profit is at plus 388. And that's pretty amazing. We're up for 12. We're up from 12,000. We went down 12,000 units when I bet into that hit to spin ratio that was like 300 spins over expectation or under expectation. That was insane, and I got hit with a black swan event, and so I took 12,000 units on that one, but I've scrapped it back, and I'm just trying to get back up to the full profit, which is like 4,200 units, something like that. So, but step one is to get to this level here, this target, and I forgot to turn on the video, so I've already done a few spins. As you can see, I've actually done 5 spins. So now that I've got it turned on, let's just continue. So I'm going with 4 units because we just had a progression loss event, which means I'm going to drop down one more level to get the snapback. And I'm going to do a double snapback on this one. And because the progression loss event's 171 spins, I mean, that's already its own statistical event that's not going to repeat. The chances of repeating are like, you know, massively in our favor that it won't do that. And then when we get a hit, that's not going to repeat either. So that's another one. And this is the first snapback. So this is what I'm spinning on right now and why I'm at 4 units instead of 3. And once we get our 2 snapback hits, then I'm going to drop down to 3 and scrap the rest. So there it is. Bang. You saw it here right on the video. 112. Okay. And let's go ahead and record that. Dun, dun, dun. And no need to color it. I mean, it's just basically profit. So, okay. And we're going to do one more now. This is like a super snapback, if you will. Um, and let's see, that's going to be 4 units. And we're going to continue on here. So, let's see how long this one takes. See, yeah, I can't wait to make the software where I'm looking at the whole board because I can find the type of number that I'm looking for, like the perfect situation with the PLE, like we have right now. The PLE is like 26 coups um, under what it normally should have been for a loss. That's an advantage, statistical advantage. That's the kind of number I'm looking for. Um, the HS ratio could be better here. It's we're just basically a little bit above par. We're having a few more hits than par, um, so it's not the best, but it's uh, it's not dangerous and it's dang good. And the PLE ratio is great. We just had a progressive loss event, so this is like the statistically most favorable time. So this is definitely a good situation to be in. This is what I would call definitely a safe number. It's not like if I had an entire board to choose from, I wouldn't choose this number. I would choose a different number that had a safer HS ratio. And, I can probably find a better PLE ratio too. Um, because if I can get an HS ratio that's like 170 spins the other way, like a slow number instead of being just a slightly over, just a little bit fast like this one is, I can get a slow one. Okay, that's plus 40. Okay, and so, all right, so now we've got our two snapback hits. Okay, so now we're gonna drop down to level 3 again, just normal level, and we'll continue on here. Um, yep. I am probably going to have to stop betting here pretty soon if the HS ratio doesn't correct. That's what I was saying. I could find a better number that has a better HS ratio. There's not much spring left in this one. In other words, we need to get a correction here. It needs to that's what I was going to call it. Instead of conforming, I was going to call it self-governing. It corrects itself in the short term. It doesn't require, it doesn't just keep going and going and going. It corrects itself. And, that's, for this number to show that it's conforming. It already is showing that by the progression loss event. So we do have a conforming number, don't get me wrong. But right now we have an issue where we're at 111, okay, and we're only at 48. So that's going to be approximately 70. So right there, that's pretty much two standard deviations, okay, that's against us. That's too many hits, two standard deviations for the hit to spin ratio, which is not good. So what we need to see is some conforming, that it's self-governing, and we need to go for, first of all, the first sign will be that we'll go over 37 spins on this session, on this particular session right here. So we need another 17 spins, and here's the thing, the probability is against it, because at 27 spins it's 50%, so we need 10 more spins than that. So the chances are we won't do this, and that's why trends are so interesting, because you have to, for a trend to continue, or for a trend to break, it depends on what kind of trend you're looking at, but you have to defeat probability to make a change. Because probability, and the funny thing is with roulettes, probability is automatically stacked against us. That it's more probable that we're going to have more hits than expectation. That's the amazing thing about it. We don't even realize it, that it's tipped like that. It's not the house edge that's tipped like that. The house edge has nothing to do with that probability of being outside of the normal statistics against us. In other words, it's more likely that we're going to get early hits, and we've all seen this, right? We've all seen how we get profit and then it gets taken away, right? Well, I know the reason for that now. Okay, the reason is because it's tipped. The probability is tipped to get a hit in like 27 spins, okay, for a single number. But it's the same thing with multiple numbers. Okay, and so now we're correcting. Okay, this is good. This is showing some correction. It's not, okay, well, at least we didn't get worse. Okay, so here we are, plus 99. So we'll record that. And, okay. Okay, so in other words, the cycle is set up, probability is set up so that we will be getting more hits than expectation, and we're going to, those will accrue a bunch of them, all right? And so then what we'll have is this massive statistical debt of expectation, where we've had too many hits with expectation, which means we'll have a big correction, okay? And and then the bigger that correction, in other words, the more profit we gained, the larger the correction, to the point to where we may be incurring a larger than normal correction, um, which would be, a profit loss event or a black swan event. It can actually, it's more likely to get a black swan event if your expectation is really out of whack. And so probability it is causing that. Probability is bringing that. It's the odds are set up to make that happen. That's why we see it so much, and that's why people try to run with short sessions, because they know that they get nailed, their profit gets taken away. But this is the reason. It's probability that's doing that. And so what we have to do is track probability and stop betting on events that are likely to fail because of um, the hit to spin ratio is so out of whack. The probability, it's so, we've had too much success. See, and we don't even realize it. We think it's normal. Actually, that's the problem. Psychologically, we think that the hits that we gain are the normal way that the system functions. It's actually not true. The normal way that the system functions is going to be far fewer hits than that, but we just don't realize it, unless we're tracking the expectation. Then we can understand it. We start seeing what's going on with roulette when we start tracking expectation. Okay, and you need a short-term indicator, you need a long-term indicator. A progression loss event is the long-term indicator, and the hit to spin ratio is the short-term indicator. And we can see we're self-governing again. We're conforming. Okay, this is excellent. But right now we're at 148, so that's going to be 45, which is greater than one standard deviation. But we're getting ready to. Oops. All right, took it a little bit early. So +6. All right. Well, at least we're not crazy. And let's see here, +6. And so that was the amazing thing when I discovered that recently, that what's actually happening is it's probability that's forcing us to lose, to get the correction so that we lose our profit. The only way to defeat that is to be aware of it and to change it. In other words, change to something else so that you don't get your profits taken away. Okay? And starting a new session is not the answer. That's the thing. Starting a new session doesn't change anything. That's at least my theory at this point. I mean, I've been doing it. I've been starting a new session every single time, and I haven't noticed anything different. But, you know, I think if we believe in personal permanence, we know that starting a new session doesn't change anything. We're at about 80, so we're 2 standard deviations away right now. That's about to change. It's gonna be just over 1 standard deviation. It's gonna be over 1 standard deviation here, but less than 2, right around now. So anyway, we do something different, and in this case, what I'm saying is choose a number that's not in this situation where it's more likely to correct. Okay, I mean choose a number that has choose a slow number, okay, which is the hit to spin ratio. This means it's going to be behind expectation. So you want a slow number, but um, obviously we don't want a number that's in a black swan event. I mean, we want, in other words, that's where we wouldn't even bet because it can just continue down. We don't want too slow because we don't know where that one's going to stop yet. So we want a number that is slow, but is what is it? It would be and that's recently had a progression loss. Okay, which is kind of like the number we have here. I mean, this number is. It's not slow though. The problem is it's not slow. It's slightly fast. Slightly fast. I mean, it's not slow. If it was slow, then we would have some buffering, like 100, say 100 spins of buffering on the HS ratio. Instead, we have, I don't know, 20 spins against us. So I mean So I mean, it's just that doesn't mean it doesn't make it a slow number. It just it's slightly fast. So I'm just saying, yeah, this is pretty much the situation we want, where we have this great PLE, which is could be better. The PLE could actually be better, um, and then the slow number. So that's what we're looking for. The PLE ratio is high, or yeah, it's or low, whatever, and then the HS ratio is really slow. So so that way we have the two opposing odds that are pushing the chances of us getting a hit to being really super likely. To the chances of it not to chances of getting a PLE in a situation like that is just, it's like it's not even within the realm of thinking it's going to happen. That's the kind of number that we want, and this is not quite that number, but this is still a safe number right here. And let's see, we're at 5, we're at 158, so we're very close. Oh, I'm sorry, 185. 185, so that's what, 40? Okay, so just over one standard deviation. It's about to become one standard deviation. It'll be less than one standard deviation in about 8 spins. So this is, see, this is conforming. That's the difference. This number is conforming. And that's what we like. We like conforming numbers. We don't want free radical numbers. Numbers that just keep going and going, that become a black swan event, that are free radical numbers that are not, that they're outside of any kind of expectation, that they're just gone crazy. And we've all experienced that, where it looks like the odds are just not happening with the group of numbers that we were betting. They're all free radicals. Okay, so that's what we have to. That's why we want to watch all of the numbers to figure out what kind of number is this. What kind of number is this? Okay, and we want good stable numbers that we can rely upon. So, and that's how we do it. We want slow numbers that are where the PLE ratio is overperforming. Yeah, we want more progression losses than statistically called for, and we want a slower number. Yep. Oh, and it's the PMI. There it is. Okay, so the PMI plus 48. That's the indicator, that the final indicator that'll help us figure out where we're at. Okay. The PMI ratio is the movement indicator. Okay. And let's see. I think this brings us up over 300. And let me see here. 112 plus 40 plus 99. Yep, we're up over 300 now. 48 plus. Okay. All right, plus 305, and let's see how we're doing. We're now going to be at. Let's see here. Green. Okay, plus 388 equals. Yep. And so we're going to take 305 plus 388 plus is 693. So this is actual profit now, plus 693. Okay. And then we're going to be at 5. Let's see here, 165. Okay, that's going to put our PLE ratio at 78. And the PMI indicator, this is what we're talking about right here. This is actually going to be 5. Okay, so that's what we're looking at, those 3 indicators. Okay, so we want a low PMI. Okay, which means, what does that mean? If we have a low PMI, it means we just had a progression loss event. Okay, so a low PMI. We want an HS ratio, which is, fast. In other words, we want a slow number, is what I mean to say. We want a slow number. Instead of like 11 greater than expectation, even better would be, a number less, like 100 less than expectation. So in other words, a slower number than this. This is a little bit faster than what we'd really be looking for in actuality. Um, and then we want the progression loss ratio to be, even more than 28 coups. I mean, it could be even faster, if you will, on that. Even and that's what we want, because why? Because statistically, there's less of a chance of getting a PLE if the ratio is already overperforming. Okay, so those three indicators all lining up like that is the kind of number that we're looking for. And if we're tracking the whole board, it's more likely that we're going to um, have that, and we're not going to, the less likelihood of getting a PLE, which is that's what we're trying to do, is improve our odds. Okay, and to get out of the trap of letting probability destroy us. I mean, that's the funny thing, is that roulette is stacked against us in that way, and it's not the house edge. It has nothing to do with the house edge. You can make it. You can remove the house edge, and we would still lose like that because of probability. That's what I've discovered. That's the amazing thing. It's stacked against us. And I can show you right what it is. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, watch the parabola figure. Okay, right there. See, 27 spins, 50%, over 50%. Probability, okay, is dictating that the odds are we're going to get a hit before expectation. Before expectation. This creates a statistical debt where it actually has to correct itself. It will go against probability and correct itself. Okay? And if this number speeds up, this is fast. If you get a hit right here, probability says you will. If you get a hit right, more often than not, if you get a hit right here, you are 10 spins ahead of expectation. You keep doing this over and over, and you get into a statistical situation where probability is no longer the factor anymore. Now you have the long-term probability. It's like single sessions don't matter anymore. Now all of a sudden there's this huge statistical debt where this number is going to conform. Now, could you get a really awesome winning streak? Yeah. Now, that's if your number were to go free radical on the plus. In other words, it just says forget about long-term probability. I don't care how I'm going to keep. I got the foot, my pedal to the metal, and like my foot through the floor. Okay, and just go. And it just keeps providing hits over and over and over. Okay, that would be when you're not when your bet selection becomes a free radical. That's what happens. And so, but eventually, what's going to happen there is it's going to overcorrect. You're going to get, not only will your progression lose, but you will get black swan events, and that black swan event could start stacking itself. I mean, it just depends. All right, so that'll come back and get you too. Even if you do go free radical, even though you have a super winning event, it's got some statistics that are going to come get you. Okay, so it's very interesting that I've discovered this information. But anyway, let's do the HS ratio at this point. Let's figure out where we're at. Okay, 11 greater, so that's a G11. All right, and we're going to be, oops, thank goodness I wrote this down already. So 165. So what do we have is 185, right? Because why? Because 5 times 37 is 185. Okay, and then we take 185 plus, and we'll take 165 minus. That's 20, obviously. 20 plus 11 is going to be 31. I'm just going to go G31. Just forget all the nonsense and just put G31. And that's okay. I mean, that's obviously our number's a little bit fast. All right, we don't exactly want that. Let's see. Normally, what did I do on that? Let's see here. Okay, so slash color. Okay, and then we'll go back and put color red. Okay. All right, and so there we go. So there's our hit to spin ratio. It's still good. That's not scary. and the number is clearly conforming. It's not off the rails. Um, you know, and you can see I've now scrapped it back to 693. I only need another 900, um, less than 900, 800 and something. That ought to be, two or three more lines, and I'll be caught up, and I'll be moving down to level 2. So anyway, I just thought I'd update this video. There's some great information on it, and so have a great day.